Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are going to be starting our Declin Psy series and I'm so excited to be sharing with you all of this information and just sharing with you my experience of applying to the Declin Psy. I applied to the doctorate for the first time last year and actually got a place on the course at Essex, so just bear that in mind. I might not have as much experience as someone else, so I am just sharing my experiences and what I've learned. But yeah, so the Declin Psy series is going to take you from start to finish, all of the things that I've learned, all of the tips, all of my reflections. We're going to have some Q&As in there as well, so be sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of the series. But with all that being said, let's get into the video. Applying to the Declin Psy this year, I had to take a very specific approach, I feel, because firstly it was my practice year, but I also thought if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right, and so I had to be quite tactical with the way that I was choosing the courses. So by tactical, I mean I definitely was playing to my strengths rather than finding a university that I absolutely loved and then waiting on my experience to either grow or getting a master's in order to fit that specific course, which I think is the same for many people. I don't think anyone really picks a course and then does things in their life or their career in order to get to that course. I mean, let me know down below if you're like that. I'd be very interested to know. But I think for the majority of people, they try to select tactically so that they can become a clinical psychologist through whatever course. So if you haven't applied to the Declin Psy before, you have to select 4 universities for your application to go to, and your one application will go to all 4 unis. So keep this in mind. I will speak more on this later in the video. Now, the first thing that I think everyone should do is have a brief look through all of the courses on the Leeds Clearinghouse, and this will just give you a good idea of what the courses are like. Some might jump out at you and you might think, oh, that sounds amazing, that sounds exactly like what I want. Others might be a complete no, so you can take them off your list straight away. It's a good idea to get a feel of what all the courses are like relatively to the courses that they stand next to. I also really recommend having an Excel spreadsheet with all of the names of the university courses on there. As you go through this process, you can either change the colour. So I had a colour coordination thing going where I had all of the courses written down, and as I went through this process, green would mean that I would really want to apply to them, red would be a big no, and amber would be in the middle about it. The first thing that I would recommend doing is deciding your non-negotiables, and for me this was location. I didn't want to move up north. I wanted to stay relatively near to London, so that meant that I was selecting courses that were all down south, and immediately I was turning loads of the courses into red, meaning that I was not going to apply to them. Other non-negotiables could be things like whether you have to drive. Some courses require you to drive, and if you're not willing to learn how to drive between your application and starting, then get that off your list. Another one might be about the selection tests. Do you want to sit a selection test? Yes or no? If you don't, then get them off your list. So this non-negotiable list will help guide you to cancel out some of the courses, and it's a good way to cut it down. Now, there aren't that many courses on the Leeds Clearinghouse, but it still can be overwhelming, and bearing in mind you need to select 4, it's quite nice to be able to have these non-negotiables which are quite simple yes or no answers, where you can just get rid of a bunch of courses. Then on this document that you've made, I want you to write down the grades that you got during your undergrad, during your masters, and also the amount of experience that you've had post-graduation, because each course has different entry requirements. So for me, I got a 2-1 in my undergrad. I have not done a masters, and I only had about a year's experience after graduating. So with all that in mind, I could get rid of a bunch of courses, which is great, because the idea here is to make this process as easy as possible and to just get down to 4 courses as quickly and as efficiently as possible. All of the requirements can be found on the Leeds Clearinghouse website. This is going to be your go-to for this whole process, so read up on all the information that's on there. Then I would recommend looking at the alternative handbook. So the alternative handbook asks trainees about their experience on their course currently, and so you can get a good feel for what each course is truly like. So for my course, Essex, I noticed that supportive was coming up a lot and reflective, and for me I was like, that sounds great and sounds like somewhere I would really like to be. But if I noticed that other places were more research heavy, so UCL for example, I didn't want that, so I turned that to red. So just pick up on the themes that are stated in the alternative handbook. It's also a good idea to look at the previous experiences of the current trainees, because that's also included in this handbook. So I was looking at places that had a high percentage of younger trainees, and also a high percentage of trainees who didn't have a master's, and also a high percentage of trainees who didn't have that many years experience post-grad. So that's kind of how I selected and cut it down even further. And if after all of that you still have more than 4 courses, then I would suggest looking at a document that highlights the ratio between places and applicants. So I'm not too sure how true this document is. It was created by just an applicant one year, and I think it does get updated, but it shows you how many applicants there are per place. And so what I did was chose the courses that were less competitive, and that helped me get my list from 5 down to 4. You can also look at things like teaching focus, so whether a course is more psychodynamic based or systemic based. All courses will do CBT, but then they tend to have another focus as well. I think my main tip in choosing your course is to look at courses that are very similar in their ethos. So the way to do this is look at their description and look at the alternative handbook, pick up on the themes and try to select courses that are similar with the ethos that they have. So pick up on these themes when you're reading through all of the documents, because you're only going to have one application, and it's really important that you tailor your application to all 4 universities and not just to 1 or 2. That means the ethos for the course has to be very similar across the 4 that you're applying to. So again, look through the alternative handbook, write down common themes and do your own research. Ask people online, look at the Clin Sci forum and see what people have said on there. But overall, you can categorize most courses into reflective and maybe not so reflective courses. But of course, as a course that teaches psychology, they will all be very reflective. It's just some courses will put more emphasis on that than others. Try to find a common theme across the 4 courses that you're applying to. Sorry if you've noticed to change the lighting and the angle, my camera ran out of battery. And here we are. But what I'm going to do is answer some of the questions that you guys submitted over on Instagram. So if you don't follow me on there so you can get involved with all of the Q&As to do with the Clin Sci series. First question is, where is the best place to find course values? So as I said in this video, check the alternative handbook and also on the university page. So all universities tend to have a ethos about them, they have values. I went to the University of Sussex for my undergraduate degree, and thinking about them, they're quite a liberal university in the way that they teach and the things that they stand for. So maybe have a general look at the university page and see whether that gives you any inkling to what the Clin Sci course will be like. But I think overall the best place to look is the alternative handbook and the course description. Oh, but also look at the Clin Sci forum, because people have had discussions on that forum for many years, and you can pick up on things. You can even type in for some universities like, what are the values for X uni, and sometimes it will come up. When do they update the info on the clearinghouse website? Ooh, I think they update it right before when they open up the application, so that tends to be around September, late August. How to know whether a course prefers AP experience versus other routes, except the alternative handbook. I think the best place to look would be the alternative handbook, but otherwise look at the Clin Sci forum and even the Facebook page for clinical psychology applicants. That tends to be a helpful place as well. How to use the alternative handbook to get the most out of it. So in regards to using the alternative handbook for picking courses, I would say definitely focus in on the bit about clinical versus research, because I found that bit really helpful, because I personally didn't want to do that much research. And the other bit that I found helpful, considering the fact that I am a younger applicant and I haven't got a master's, was that bit about demographics. But then also the bit about the trainees experience I found really helpful as well in terms of choosing my course. So I feel like the whole thing is helpful, so just read through it and read through it again so that it's really ingrained in you and you get a good feel and you don't miss out any important information. There are some questions here about interviews and stuff like that, but I'm not answering that in this video, but I will be in other videos. Someone said, you applied to 4 courses. I know nothing. Trust me, I had no idea as well. It's similar to UCAS in the way that you apply to various universities, but using one application only. So yes, you apply to 4 courses, 1 application. That application gets sent to all of them through the Leeds clearinghouse, and then you'll get invited to interviews and tests from there. How seriously should you take the alternative handbook section on how many times applicants have applied? Some say 33% first time, others say 40% fifth time. You have to remember that with the alternative handbook, who their population is at the time. So they normally state it at the beginning of every section for every course, but you have to remember that not all trainees answer the questions, and so you have to remember it's 33% of the trainees that answered the survey rather than 33% of all trainees on the course. So just bear that in mind, like think critically about the statistics. It's the closest thing that we're going to get to the truth, but I'd take everything with a pinch of salt. those are all of the questions that you guys asked. Stay tuned for the next Declin Psy related video. Please leave down below any requests for the series coming up, and I will try to get back to you or include them in my videos. Please give this video a like if you liked it and subscribe for more content like this. And the Declin Psy series is coming, guys, so be ready for that. I don't want anyone to miss out. And until next time, guys, I will see you later. Bye.